Welcome back to Total Disclosure Live. My name's Ty. I'm joined today by the man, the myth, the legend, Lil Pop Tart. We'll get him in our moment. Tonight, we got so many things to talk about. Haven't done a live stream in over a week on the channel. So things have been racking up, news stories and different things that we gotta, we just gotta break it down. These things include, but are not limited to, Avi Loeb is basically on a mission to search for a basically a crashed UFO. So it's a public-facing, Harvard-led, paid-for crash retrieval program, and that's gonna be so fun to talk about. Also, an uptick in commercial airline pilot UFO sightings, as well as a cult growing inside the UFO community. All that plus more. Before we get into that, guys, make sure to like, share, subscribe, and if you want to become a member of the channel, definitely click join below. Also, I just dropped a video called Graham Hancock Ancient Apocalypse, and why it has people buzzing. Check that video out. Just dropped it. It's only like 7 minutes long, but it's really well done. It was really fun to make. So without further ado, Jesus Christ, man, I can't even look. I can't even. It's straight in my eyes to look at you,
bro. One of the first things I want to say is Saucergate is the new movement that I'm trying to create, like Watergate or any other gate. As far as what the government's done, the corruption the government's done, and the truth embargo, just give it a more term that is a little more sinister, that shows what it is, saucer, and it's a gate, that it's a crime, something illegal that they've been doing.
Yeah, but they're not going to play ball if you start calling them criminals.
I'm not trying to, play ball necessarily with the government. I'm not trying to fuck with the government. I'm just trying to,
listen, the
coin
way
the
I see
term.
this, the way I see this is it doesn't, I mean, it does matter what has happened in the past, and we definitely need to be cognizant of it. But in my opinion, I think going forward, we need to try to be allies. And with these people, it's going to be tough to be allies with, like it's going to be tough to want to work with the government, but they have resources that we just don't have, and we're going to need to play ball, and we're going to need them eventually.
Well,
And this goes
the
for
government the government isn't the bad guys in this situation. There's obviously two governments, and a lot of the government people, whether we trust them or not, like the Chris Mellons, there's other people, like him in government that's been interested in the subject and have pure intentions, but at the end of the day they end up getting shut down, and usually have to because of their career. But at the end of the day, they're still looking into the subject, and there are a lot of good people in government that have pursued UFOs.
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, there really has been, and I think that's a
and
testament to.
and they're
I think that
mad.
is a testament to the severity of the issue, though. Like
Yeah,
that, there's
Eisenhower was
factions.
pissed. Eisenhower was pissed. You know what I'm saying? Like
Uh,
it's and so was Admiral Wilson, apparently, that he didn't have access. All these people get really
Get,
upset. It
I
it
mean,
is extreme. You know what
imagine.
I'm saying? Like I'm not in government, but if I was, and especially if I was, head like Tom Admiral Wilson, and you're supposed to have oversight over all of this,
Yeah,
it
that could
would be
be.
frustrating.
Imagine being the secretary general, basically, and basically being told, like, you don't clear for this, like this is above you, and
Yeah,
in your mind you're at the top, right? There's nothing above you, or there's not many
presidents.
above you, right? Presidents who think they've just inherited the secrets of the tomb get
Yeah,
told, nah, because they're just a temporary employee at the end of the day. Um, these career bureaucrats. And did you hear about what Jacques Vallée said about Bob Lazar?
I saw he's been doing one or two interviews lately, but no, I haven't got a chance to. I've lost a little respect for Jack Valet after what Greer said, but go ahead and tell me what he said about Lazar.
Jacques Vallée thinks there's a possibility that Bob Lazar was brainwashed to think that he worked on a UFO. Like, I mean, it's a very fucking
No,
wild. It's a very wild claim, But
What the fuck, bro? What the fuck? I think he's brainwashed. Like, fuck, I hate to be like ageism, bro, but maybe he's just getting old, bro. Like, and he's going crazy. I don't know. That's
you,
that's that's nuts.
you're cutting it out, brother. Maybe you want to remove yourself, come back in.
Okay,
I think that'll work. But
okay.
I'll continue the conversation. Don't worry. I won't go on. I won't move on. But yeah, so like I said, I dropped I dropped that video about ancient apocalypse, and you know, it's to me it's one of my favorite topics is human history, how we evolved. Why don't we know? Why are we a species that doesn't understand our beginnings, or at least without a shadow of a doubt? Why do we not know about our origin story? How did it possibly get lost along the way? And I think Graham has proposed an idea that is very, very backed in scientific, proof. It's not scientific. I think that's the wrong word, but he's following the scientific process more than the mainstream scientists and archaeologists. He's at least open to peer review, whereas they're not. It's why is Graham Hancock a modern day Galileo? Like, why is this happening in 2023? We're almost, we've kept our heads buried in the sand for too long. Ooh, still a bit shaky there.
Sorry, bro. I'm fixing my camera. It's me. There we go.
But yeah, so
My bad.
Pop Tart's gotta figure it out. But 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 one of the first things I did want to talk about is the uptick in commercial airline pilots seeing UFOs far more frequently than they have in the past. It seems like right now there is something going on. There's like a major, you wouldn't necessarily call it a flap because it's not an area, but it seems that the number of UFOs being spotted by commercial pilots has skyrocketed. So I want to run through some tweets. And these are some conversations between pilots. The first one isn't, but the rest of them are. So the first one is from a guy named Alistair Lowe. And he said, "Heads up, my brother is an airline pilot, a 787. In the last 24 hours, pilots are seeing an overwhelming number of things in the sky. Pilots are sharing texts like nothing he's ever seen. He's reading them off to me as they come in from his coworkers. It's crazy." Now, some of the stories that you start hearing about, like, craft basically splitting apart, going from 1 to 3. These are things that we hear all the time. But what do you think about this, buddy? That commercial airline pilots are like, dude, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, I'm not surprised, and I've only known about the subject myself for coming up on 3 years now. So, um, it's like every single person, whether it's the president or Elvis or whoever, so many huge people, Jesus Christ, has allegedly had some encounter with a UFO with an ET, and with what we're talking about. What's his full name?
Graham
What's his
Hancock.
Graham Hancock. Okay, so I haven't actually watched the full show, but I've seen some of his Joe Rogan interview, and so from what I've learned though is like he's pretty much saying what we've been saying about humanity being wrong, and a
Yes,
lot about the past,
yes.
and he I don't know how far he's gone into the extraterrestrial hypothesis. I know that he's talked about flood, and obviously pyramids, and you know he's
He leaves the
apparently.
door open, as Nick said.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, and I am excited to watch the show, but obviously, there's been lots of civilizations that's been lost, and Egyptians. If we didn't build pyramids ourselves, we definitely had help.
Well, part of the video that I brought up earlier, or part of the video that I stated in the video is, you know, how is it that these civilizations that we were told had no contact, they all end up building pyramids in some form or fashion on every continent? There's pyramids, and they all, most often, there's very few that aren't aligned with some sort of constellation. They have some sort, advanced knowledge of
Yeah.
astronomy and mathematics, because mathematics is involved in astronomy to the umph degree, especially when you're creating something on Earth that mirrors the constellations. You need to there's so much math involved in that. So the fact that these civilizations were able to do this far, and by the way, archaeologists and scientists say that it was just sheer luck. It was all sheer luck, coincidence. It's all coincidence.
Yeah.
I find that to be horseshit.
They try saying that the Earth is only 2,000, 6,000 years old, and what Graham was
Uh,
saying is that one of these pyramids itself in Turkey is 11,000, and all this stuff happened
no,
11,000
no, no.
years
They don't
ago,
say it.
11,600 years ago,
They don't say
11,800
Earth
years ago.
is 3,000 years old. They say that
Humanity.
that's like flat Earth.
I might have said Earth, but
Yeah,
I
I think
meant to
you.
say humanity is.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
try to say humanity
Humanity,
is thousands of years old.
3,000. Yeah,
Yeah,
thousand.
when and obviously Gary Nolan with his new DNA study saying that it's 9.5 billion years old, human DNA.
Yeah, it's been around for a little bit more than half of that time. So, I find it to be very uncomfortable that mainstream archaeology and mainstream science will not take this as seriously. They will not
Yeah.
look at it through the lens of a scientist. It's much, again, I hate to use the comparison over and over again, but it's much like the church with Galileo. They're refusing to look through the telescope. They don't want to.
Yeah.
They don't want to even under. They don't even want to hear the argument.
So it's an alternative theory. And what's funny about UFOs, UFOs are an alternative energy propulsion device, right? It's just the same vehicle, just like the UFO, the saucer above my house. It was literally a vehicle. It just like came visit us, a vehicle. But they're obviously not running on gasoline, or they're not a Tesla running on a grid. So it's really not that complicated, and it is a lot simpler once you study it for a while. And like I've done,
Do you,
I've had a chance to have my own experiences, and that's
do you think
taken
that?
time to absorb.
Do you think that? Say some sort of um, you know, not leave all the shit from the conspiracy theories from the past. Leave it all out of it. But say
Yep.
tomorrow, an extraterrestrial civilization landed and they decided to share with us that they've been here for forever. Basically, they've been coming here forever, watching us, and they have all of our history. We could see it. They've recorded it all, right?
Yeah.
They have it all, and say all of, like what Graham says, say that's more truthful than what we've been taught in school.
Yeah.
Say
Absolutely.
say all these things. Do you think that they'd have a hard time going back and rewriting the history? Do you think they'd try to cover it up?
I think that in today's age, history is already being rewritten. Rewritten. It's hard for me to say my R's with social media, bro, and with the internet. We have access to these other theories. We have access to, even if they're wrong, all kinds of conspiracy theories and all kinds of alternative theories to everything. You know what I'm saying? So I think that, as even though the big media obviously is still controlled, there's a lot of problems in government and media. Um, I think that we are still heading in the right direction, and with it all connects with the ETs. Making contact, making CE5. Same with the Egyptians. With every civilization, there's been contact, and been making contact with humanity since humanity's been here. Just because I figured out about it 2 years ago, it was still happening even whenever I had no idea. And just because the other 99% of the world right now still doesn't believe about CE5 or know about it, believe it, it still exists and it's still happening actively. People just don't believe it. You know what I'm saying? You're even skeptical about it, but it is still actively 100% happening, and it obviously has been for all of
Do,
human history. So
I wonder if it could be a correlation between the
it's
uptick
gotta
in
be.
sightings from pilots
Oh,
and the increased use of CE5 amongst the world. Uh, because people are saying that there's
maybe,
more
maybe.
sightings happening now than ever in human history, um,
Yeah.
or at least in recorded human history. So I wonder if there's any correlation between it.
I mean, I think that for one, it's being reported more, obviously because of the stigma's gone down, and with whatever, I don't know what it's called specifically that is protecting, these witnesses, these pilot witnesses, but whatever's going on in government that's protecting them. Even though Greer and Daniel Sheen have already said that people that's worked in these USAT projects, they're obviously cleared because that's illegal. But pilots have still been, obviously nervous to come forward just for their credibility and everything like that. So it's
Where
become
there's a
less
lot of
stigmatized.
Yeah, there's a lot. Well, what we just heard was that the pilot program was not renewed when everyone thought it was renewed. The one
What
where they
pilot
could go,
program?
so the one that the pilots could go report, like the military pilots, so they could go report it.
Oh yeah,
That
that's what I was talking about.
yeah, that didn't get renewed, so they can't go report it anymore.
Well, fuck, then and then it might go down a little bit, you know what I'm saying? If like, sightings, because they
I
might
think
not feel as
I think
comfortable to report.
I think
Less social
someone
media.
I think someone in the government, one little faction, is working really hard to walk this back. And
Oh yeah.
there's more people that want it to come out, but there's this little faction that's really good at what they do. Like,
Yeah.
in my mind, like, and this correlates with one of our topics tonight. Apparently, someone's about to drop an article about, or like an investigative article about a legitimate cult growing inside the UFO community, like a legitimate cult, not just like a
Yeah.
call the UFO community a cult, like a legitimate one where they're flipping podcasters and like
Oh
it's
my gosh.
active deception.
I'm not
Yeah,
surprised though. I'm not
I,
surprised, bro.
if
Because it is a
anyone,
subject that's real, and especially for experiencers, bro, it's like a whole new fucking confirmation of your reality just being fucked. It's like a forever acid. It's like a forever psychedelic trip, which is what Graham talks a lot about in the Rogan interview too. They talk a lot about DMT, psychedelics, and alleging that he alleges that fucking Egyptians used mushrooms, psychedelic mushrooms.
I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, again, it'd be hard for me, hard to know when, like how it would happen, and it's hard to know that you can't put your finger on something like that unless you found it
Yeah.
in like
Okay.
the
So let
digestive
me take that
tract
back.
or
Let me walk that back. He claims that it was a psychedelic drug, but it was blue water lily in wine. And there are these bottles and tombs, and they've been found, and they open like states of consciousness and give you visions and stuff
oh,
like that.
cool.
But
The
apparently,
imagine tripping on Egyptian juice.
but Terrence McKenna, I haven't read his book. I'd like to, the DMT book. I want to try DMT, but
You've never tried
obviously,
it?
no, bro. I want to so bad. I want to meet the elves,
Did I
and
tell
that's
you
what he was
mine?
talking about too.
Did I
It's
tell
the
you about mine?
elves. You did, but I forget. So tell me again because I want to hear. I forget.
So first off, DMT is like it's not really what you'd expect if you've never done something like it before.
Yep.
I did do something like it beforehand, so I knew what I was
Yep.
getting myself into. But you basically like you smoke it, and there's a certain way that you smoke it, and you should do it in a certain area, in my opinion, so, like somewhere outside in like a field, because without giving the sensations and stuff like that, try to put a finger on it, there's this moment where it's not like marijuana. If you've ever smoked marijuana or weed, whatever you want to call it, where you smoke it and you gradually get higher, right? It's not like that at all. It is 0 to 60 in a matter of fucking 0.1 of a second. You take your mouth off of it and you are gone. So you transport. I am quite convinced that you leave this sphere, this realm, this dimension, like you go somewhere else. Your body remains here, but you go somewhere else. So I come off of it, I come off of I come off of it, I blow the smoke out, and while I'm blowing the smoke out, all of a sudden I'm transported basically into this. I've never been able to really create it visually or verbally, but it seemed like I was surrounded by a glassy, bright and colorful universe. It was glassy though, but like there was no seam to the floor and to the surroundings. But there was one thing that stuck out like a sore thumb. I was in this place and I could see someone. He didn't look like an elf, like a legitimate elf, like everyone says. No pointy ears, no green, no arrow. It wasn't Legolas from Lord of the Rings. But it was a very beautiful, symmetrical being who was in dark garment and didn't speak words, but it was like you could understand. And I took a couple steps, and it was almost like I was being told you shouldn't be here. And within a minute or so of being there, or at least in that dimension time, what felt like maybe a minute, not a minute, maybe felt like 10 to I don't know, time worked different. I guess is the key word. It felt like longer but shorter, but not the same. It's very weird to describe, but just as soon as I was there, I was gone. I was back here, and
Doing it for an hour now. They're doing tests to study the DMT world, and they're
yeah,
doing little drips to be in there for an hour, so they can be there longer and study it longer, walk around
yeah.
the world.
So I would love to get more time in there, but like I said, it's almost like the person is whatever being it is. It's almost like it's trying to tell you, dude, you shouldn't be here. Your body, go back. Like, don't leave your body unattended. You know?
Maybe that's just your personal trip though, that one time, because a lot of people have had
I
obviously
know.
really positive experiences. You know what I'm
It
saying?
is no. Mine wasn't a negative experience by any stretch of the imagination. It was
Okay.
the most positive thing I've ever experienced. But
Okay.
it was almost like he was telling me, like, because no words were spoken. Not a single word was spoken.
Yeah.
But it was like, and he didn't tell me to leave. He didn't tell me to stay. But it was like, I shouldn't be there for longer than this.
Yeah.
And it was a very surreal experience. And when I came back to my body, or when I snapped back into reality, I had an appreciation for the grass blowing. I had an appreciation for the wind. I had appreciation for the trees. I knew why the trees were there, right? You sometimes you look around and you're like, you forget about all the beauty that is in this world, and the true paradise that we actually live in.
So he was talking about mapping it using some technologies, like these scientists who ever are doing it are
Can't
using
map it. There's no way to map it.
technologies.
I
But
wouldn't. I if they could map that
whether
place.
uh, so I don't know, bro. We I don't know what technology, but so and I do want to try it. But apparently a lot of people do talk about meeting the elves, and even Joe Rogan himself met the elves, and a lot of times it's several, more than one entity, and they're not always elves. They can be different shapes too. Like Rogan's talked about, he saw like jokers, like jesters. They were flipping them off and whatnot. But um, so they're basically entities though, and whatever they are, they're ETs of some sort of a higher
They're
dimension.
there.
They're some
They
beings though. They're
inhabit
there,
that realm.
but they exist, and they're not us. It's not a concept. It's a fragment of our own imagination. It's not just, oh, it's a drug. I've never even done it, but I know that it's not just a drug. You know what I'm saying? That's something that's real. And so that and even Graham was calling it contact. So I think that we could even categorize that as type of CE7, bro. Making contact via DMT with DMT-Ls.
I wonder what, because I wouldn't want to call them elves because I think that's a very poor.
Yeah, I don't
It's
know what
almost
they are.
like it's almost like how back in the day they anything that if they saw a UFO they'd call it a dragon because that's the only word they had for it.
Yeah, flying
I
dragon.
feel like
It's
we're in that
flying.
situation where that's not who they are. They're not elves, but
Yeah,
that's our best description.
yeah,
So if you're listening or watching, that's what we mean. They're definitely not elves, but I think that's the best word that I can describe to use to
yeah.
define what they look like and how they're there's like this aura around them. It's like bright aura, and it's
That's a
remarkable.
trip,
It
bro. That's a
was a
trip.
remarkable
They're
experience.
interdimensional beings. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
and
They're from another dimension for sure.
I got to walk past one, dude. I just was like it was almost like I was on the yellow brick road. I fucking swear to God, but
Yeah, and
it wasn't like that, but it was kind of, and
hey,
he was there or it was there. I don't know if it was a he, but he had it had manly features, I suppose, if you would say that, or uh, masculine structure. So when I walked past, like in my head, I was like, should I just keep going? Like, is he gonna follow me? And then I was gone. That's I was very intrigued, but it felt like I was being rushed out. Um, that was the shitty part. I really I could have been in there for hours.
well,
It's not
the
scary. It sounds like it would be scary because like all of a sudden you're just not here. It's
yeah,
not. You don't even recognize. You're still you. You're just not here.
yeah.
Whatever this is, it's
It's proof.
crazy.
It's proof that life goes on before and after. You know what I'm saying? Our actual life. And the only thing close to that I've experienced, as far as on a psychedelic,
Salvia's close.
I'd like to try that too. But the last thing that got me even close to going to another dimension was on like 2 or 3 hits of double dipped acid watching the Beatles movie, which was the Yellow Submarine. And I didn't know at the time that acid like kept you up, so I'm laying down on the couch trying to sleep, and I just closed my eyes and I couldn't sleep, so I'm just laying there, and I like drift off and like go into the Pepperland dimension where it's just all white, um, like on the movie, and I see all the Beatles in the same cartoon version and see myself as like the cartoon version, and I talk to them, and in my mind at the time it was 100% real. Obviously, I was on acid, but in my mind it was 100% real, and I asked them what's one thing that I can take back into my dimension, my universe or reality, and that I can remember and that will be useful, you know. And they said that time, and the only person that I knew who it was, besides like maybe Paul McCartney, was John Lennon, or who I thought was John Lennon, right? Because I didn't even know like who the rest of them were, but or the other two. But anyways, so they said that the one thing is that time travel exists, time travel is real, and I asked how, and they said that it just hasn't been, it doesn't exist yet because it hasn't been discovered yet, and apparently I'm going to be one of the people to discover it, but I don't think is true, or I don't think that, maybe that's my ego or just like what I fucking think
Yeah.
they said, you know what I'm saying? But
I think you
I am
inserted
very
yourself
interested,
in.
so I am interested in it, and I've had a lot of success with CE5. I have had 50 to up to 80, contact experiences. So, maybe I'll discover something about time travel in the future. And I think that meditation and CE5 and time travel is all connected. And just because we haven't discovered time travel yet, or myself, I think it's definitely possible. I think that's the ETs know they can travel through time. If they can fold into space time, which they did right in front of me, then I it makes sense that they would be able to travel through time too.
Yeah, I suppose. I think I don't know if like again I hate to. It's not that I hate to not believe things. It's again I'm wait because if I'm under the assumption that if any of it's true, then the whole the whole bail could be possible, right?
But
So
Rendlesham Force incident is proof that that was apparently us from the future, according
I don't know
to
if
you know
again you see you use these
that
buzzwords,
lieutenant.
but
That's what he whatever the
that's what
guy
he
name is, Doc
thinks.
Lieutenant John whoever Pendleton. I can't pronounce his name, but that's what he said that their conclusion was that it was the military from the future coming back to warn us about you know whatever we're doing wrong. But they had nuclear weapons there, and he wouldn't even admit it. Like even now, he like won't even like really admit that they were housing nuclear weapons overseas.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's one of that's like the one of the most strategic fucking bases in that area. So
Yeah.
like the fact that that they try to say that there weren't nuclear weapons there is a sham because
Well,
we know that there were.
have we even really talked about Rendlesham on the show much?
No, I told you so. I
It's
I
apparently Britain's Roswell. You know,
yeah
Brazil, Virginia is apparently South America's Roswell. We have our Roswell. There's been Roswells in pretty much every country. It appears there's been crashes. Um, you know, I know we're going to talk about Avi Loeb and his crash retrieval team, but obviously there's been crash retrieval teams throughout governments for
yeah.
many
This is
many
the
years.
first one that's like public,
Open
and
public, yeah, for
they're just
sure.
talking about
That's
it
cool.
like it's dinner
It's
on
normal.
Thursday.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Which I don't know if you know about it, but I mean Avi. So for anyone who doesn't know, by the way, good transition. Anyone who doesn't know, Avi Loeb was he's a Harvard astronomer. I think he's an astronomer and a professor there. But he famously wrote a paper on Oumuamua, which was the first interstellar object to enter our solar system. He wrote that you know the possibility of it being a light sail or something like that of an alien spacecraft is just as plausible, considering this is nothing like we've seen before. So obviously, it's a lot more deep than that, but that's like the short form version of it. So now we get word. So all of a sudden, they started talking about it on the news where the Harvard professor believes that an alien spacecraft may have crashed to Australia's north a decade ago, and he's planning an expedition to retrieve the object from the floor of the Pacific Ocean. Now, even if this doesn't end up being a spaceship or UFO, um, to retrieve something like that, it's still a value. So, could he just be trying to drum up some media attention around his expedition and get the money back from the investors? Potentially. Avi does know how to play the system, and definitely has the ability to do so. They're being so open that it's uncomfortable how open they're being about this. So like naturally I'm like, wait, what's really going on? And it's got me second guessing. Oh, so he's an astrophysicist, Avi Loeb. Um, he made the waves by claiming, like we said, the object that streaked across the sky off the coast of Manus Island, Papua New Guinea in 2014, was actually some form of spacecraft. A U.S. Space Command report released earlier this year found that the object was in fact interstellar from another star system, making it unusual, but they concluded in the same paper that it was simply a meteor. Professor Loeb, chair of Harvard University's astronomy department and head of the Galileo Project, which is searching for evidence of advanced alien tech, insists it could have been built by extraterrestrials. The fundamental question is whether it was unusual rock from another star or was it a spacecraft? Loeb told News.com. I've got news for you, podcast on Wednesday. We're planning an expedition to Papua New Guinea and scoop the ocean floor and figure out the composition of this object. Loeb, who first teased the fishing expedition to retrieve the object in an essay for the debrief in April, revealed to host Andrew Bucklow that the mission was on track for March or April of 2023, and that he received 1.5 million to last month to go ahead with this expedition. What do you think about all that? What do you think about getting 1.5 million from Harvard? Not from Harvard. From for government spending to do this.
I don't have too much of an opinion on Avi Loeb because everyone loves him so much, and I don't love him that much. I just think I just for some reason don't believe that much of him. Maybe he is telling the truth, but a lot of things, I don't know. I feel like he tries to be too politically correct and won't talk about UFOs and only talks about like a mooey mooey and like I think that was a fucking rock, bro. Like I don't think I've never seen in all my CE5, I've never seen a big ass fucking floating giant turd out there.
But I also think that is that's I think that's a naive way to look at that.
Maybe it
That
is, bro, but I think that he doesn't really focus on ufology much. I feel like he
no, that's
treads
not his.
really
He's an
lightly on the subject.
astrophysicist.
But why would he not dive into it a little bit? He knows that it's there. He knows that the research, that the material and the evidence is all there. Why not
Okay,
go further? And he only talks about
he
himself.
is.
Only talks
He
about
got
what he's doing.
$1.5 million to go see if a fucking spaceship landed in the ocean. What more could you want from somebody?
And like I said, I haven't done too much, so I can't really
I
say
you have
I
not
like him or
raised
dislike him, bro.
1.5 million to go scoop the ocean
I
floor
haven't.
for a
Obviously, he's
UFO.
successful, bro. It's not about, in ufology, it's not about money, obviously, bro, and stuff
No,
like
it's
that,
not.
and
It's not.
degrees and stuff.
It's not. It's
Obviously,
not.
he knows first off how academia and how professors and scientists shun the subject, and
Yeah, they
I do
do.
feel for him in a lot of ways because he's been shunned in a lot of ways. Um, and not by me. I'm open minded, obviously, and I've obviously seen UFOs, but I just don't know really what his end game is, or I really don't know what his like whole motives are. And maybe he's really just got good intentions and he's just
I think he
cool, but
has the
whatever.
best of intentions. I think he is one of the most genuine people. I because he I think you should go listen to more of his stuff. He's done interviews with Rogan. Um, that are very interesting to hear about. Yeah, they don't talk too much about UFOs, quote unquote, but you can tell just by listening to him that if tomorrow it was all confirmed, out of his hands confirmed, he would he would start looking into it scientifically to better the human race. And I think he's just one of those guys that he doesn't really care about the politics. Maybe he wants to be politically correct because he doesn't want to get canceled,
Hey,
doesn't want to lose his funding. I get it. I get it. We all gotta limit ourselves in some form or fashion on the internet. You
yeah,
know, towards what we would be in real life. But I think this is a
yeah,
huge step forward. They're
yeah,
literally
it's
going
cool.
on the news talking about retrieving potential uh,
Yeah.
spacecraft out of the
No,
ocean floor.
I say I think this
Harvard.
expedition's cool. This is a cool expedition. Someone I really
I
like
would
though,
love to be
and
on
who
it.
who who is interested and who does talk about exopolitics, and that's Stephen Bassett, bro, the dude you
Yes.
interviewed. I
Yes.
was recently, I think I sent it to you, an interview he did a few months ago, with I don't even remember who. I think it's like
Alien
the Alien
Chronicles.
Chronicles, and it's
I
really good so
used,
far.
if you watch my interview, I used the opening bit of their interview to do mine. Like
Well,
they put this together, this really good intro for him, and I used a little piece of it in mine because
that's
it was
cool.
so good.
Well,
Yeah.
your interview was the first time I heard of him, so that was the reason why I even watched this because I liked him on your
Yeah, I'm gonna
interview,
get him
and
back
I
on
was
the
like,
show.
yeah, he's very well spoken, bro. He knows the talk. He knows
He
the
does.
language.
I mean, think about it. He's been in Washington as the one and only UFO party, like the disclosure aspect of it. fighting for just the truth embargo, and then and the and the secrecy, ending UFO secrecy. So I think Steven is such a character. He's such a good guy, and I love that guy. I really do.
Yeah. Have you even dived so much into the Gaia network?
Yeah,
Gaia.
I have
So
not.
I haven't gone too far. Besides, I've watched the Greer stuff, and the only other person that I even think is kind of cool is Billy Carson. But a lot of it seems really like phony baloney, like abduction type. I haven't really even looked into it, but I just can't see all those people being credible. I know Greer, and I know how he's credible, and I trust him and believe him. But just like other people in there that I've never heard of, and they talk with so much, about ET beings with so much confirmation and with so much confidence, I should say. Um, but I don't know if I believe a lot of those people. Obviously, abduction experiencers and just experiencers in general, um, they do exist, and there's a lot of them, and they're not going to be able to, pull something off the spacecraft if they say, Travis Walton or someone was abducted, close encounter of the
Right.
fourth kind, close encounter of the third kind. They just saw an ET being, and that happens all the time. They're not going to be able to take a picture. We know now that ETs have technology that they can detect cameras. So if they don't want a picture taken or a video taken, they're not going to let it happen. They have invisibility, they'll turn invisible.
You know what I was thinking about? So remember, so in the Virginia, so in Moment of Contact, and the Virginia case, um, Carlos, the guy who goes on scene, he's on scene of the crash. He's the witness that
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember. Was running.
he talks.
It happened
He,
here.
yeah, he talks about. Remember how he talks about the memory metal.
Yeah, how he folded it up and then it just came back. And
Well, yeah.
yeah,
So the same thing was found at the Roswell crash, that memory metal.
yeah,
So what
yeah.
if that also helps them be able to transform, like change shape? What if that metal like
That's
allows
smart,
them
bro.
to
That's
go
really
in and out
smart.
of
Shapeshift.
dimensions?
Yeah,
Yeah.
to shapeshift. That's really smart because I
It's
never thought of
industry.
that.
Yeah, because they say it's industry. Like you can't bend, burn.
Yeah,
You can't
they
like
would need
deform
that.
it.
They would need that for in order to be a physical object and it fold into space time. And that's what I was thinking about the other day too, bro. Whenever that happened, when the saucer above my house was a physical object and it shapeshifted, whatever pilots or beings were inside, whether it was one or two, or more. If it was one or more, that shapeshifted into a little ball that was the size of a tennis ball. That means that the pilots and beings were inside that little bitty tennis ball, and that themselves were shapeshifted and like in full into space time were that small too. It wasn't just the craft that was that small and
Yeah.
shapeshifted that small. It was the
Like
beings too. That's
we don't
weird.
know
What?
about what in the inside. Like if you were
Yeah,
inside of it, if you're inside of it, it might just feel the same. Like you might still be big. Like you don't know. Like we don't know
and
how it works, but
so
on the outside, visible light that you are seeing, this thing was little, right?
yeah, it was the size of like a tennis ball in broad daylight, super bright. But something about Greer said whenever he had like one of his first experiences where he was meditating and he either saw a craft or he was brought on board a craft, and he said that while they were flying through space, he was like 18 at the time, I think. He said he was flying through space on this ET craft, and the walls and floor and ceiling, everything was invisible. It was invisible all around them, and so that they were flying through space, and all the stars and planets, and everything were just flying past them. But that makes sense that they would do that because I've seen firsthand that they have invisibility. They have ultimate cloaking invisibility
One
to
sec, I'm
where they're
gonna
ultimately invisible. So it makes sense
keep
that the
talking.
on the inside of the craft they would be invisible too for the pilots or passengers, pleasure and experience, you know, be invisible, and that it's like the biggest window, it's like the biggest sunroof, basically. Sunroofs and windows are always nice because you can see, you have a good view. You don't
Yeah, you have a
want,
kind of you have like a 360 view because you can go all
yeah,
the way around, but all the way up
that's
as
the
well.
best. You don't want a
Yeah.
car with only one little hole in the window so you can't see or anything. You know, you want to be able to see. So it makes sense they would have invisibility to the most, and that would be completely invisible flying through space and for the experience of the passenger pilots.
Yeah, I cannot wait. I can't wait because I've been working on the meditation. In about a month, I'm gonna start
Mm-hmm.
asking outward. Um,
Yeah.
but I can't wait until I can go do the CE5 stuff or even just meditation at one of
Mm-hmm.
these places like Serpent Mound or um, the step pyramids in South America or the pyramids of Giza. I want to do CE5
Yeah.
or something like it at all of these places that are have some sort of significance, some sort of energy. Because
Yeah.
I think that these are the perfect places to do that kind of stuff. Not only will your own meditation help, but something about the area as well has like an energy to it. So
Yeah. And that's how I feel too, bro. All the contact I've had was in my backyard in the middle of fucking Missouri, which is smack dab in the middle of the United States. Super
do you
small
don't think
town.
anyone ever reported those UFOs
I
as
was
UFOs?
scared. No, I was scared they were going to report my green laser, bro. That's what I'm always paranoid about is the green laser. And like you'll see, like even I have a video on one video of like an actual like two, three, four orbs on video. I'm shining the laser at it. I sent it to you, and you can hear me in the background like shit. Hopefully it's not like the cops or something like. Hopefully cops aren't gonna
Yeah,
like
they
because
gotta
for my
they like
laser
surround your
they
house
had
with
like a
fucking
helicopter. I was like
helicopters.
shit. Like maybe I was shining it at pilot or something, and I'm in trouble. At first, I just said that because I was fucking heat of the
I
moment, but
wonder if that's illegal to have a laser like
apparently
that.
it is illegal. Apparently it is. But if you're just doing it for like stargazing, you're allowed to point them at stars, not anything that's moving, not any moving object or.
Yeah,
But if
yeah.
it's an ET, that's a little different rules. So
I yeah.
and times
Did
I've been pulled over, or times I've even gone to jail, which recently I did go to jail because I had a freaking warrant, bro, for literally like stop signs and whatnot. But anyways, I've had to go to jail, for not paying a warrant and missing court or whatever. And I've talked to cops before in my local town about me making contact and what I do in making contact in UFOs, and I explain all of it to them. And they were pretty open minded about it, really surprisingly.
Wow. Well, I think people in general are more open now. I don't think like I think now hear me out. I think people are more open to it, but
Yeah,
groups of people try to play it off because you don't want to be that guy in the group of people. But
yeah,
individually,
like brands and stuff.
yeah.
And the
So
government thinks of
Joshua,
themselves as a brand too.
yeah, exactly. Joshua says, my family owns property adjacent to Serpent Mound, and there is an energy there. The only
That's what.
strange thing I've experienced out there is the Oz effect in the woods one night. Dude, I'm going to be right near there. I'm going there very soon. And I have like 5 places on my list that I'm going to go to in the United States because I think that Giza's a little bit too. I think that's like the Mount Everest, right? So I'm gonna work my way up
Yeah,
to Giza, but there's like a lot of places in this country that I think are really cool to go see, and they're very accessible. The Grand Canyon, those kind of things. But Serpent Mound, I mean, it's just such a special thing. It's such a
yeah.
fucking feat of human agriculture and ingenuity.
It's like a slap in the face, bro. It's like obviously that's seen from space or seen from the sky. It's not something that's made for just
Yeah,
like
you, tr-
humans
you they
to.
say that because like if you hadn't been able to see it from the sky, it wouldn't have that much effect on you. But
Yeah.
once you see it from the sky, it's like holy fuck. And then you're
So
standing next to it and you're like, Jesus Christ, how big is this thing? Like,
so there's only one question, bro. Who the fuck were they making it for?
it's a very good question.
I
Like
mean,
my
the,
thought has always been that they looked at the stars, right? I think they looked out like all these civilizations, all these cultures. People want to know why they built these things. But I think it was because the universe, when they didn't know as much as we did, the universe was this infinite, like almost like a mirror, right? So I think they were building things and looking to the stars like a mirror, like the heaven, like you wanted to impress it, right? So I think that's who they were building it for. But at least that's my opinion. But
bro.
also, you have to think like were they building it for someone else, right? That they
Like
knew.
you said the thing that Graham was saying pretty much that is wrong, that in the past we weren't less smart, but we are actually more smart and more advanced in the past. And perhaps there's been many civilizations lost with highly advanced technologies and what I believe not
Very
just
much.
highly advanced technologies, but I believe 100% that all civilizations have had contact with ETs, bro. Just because I've had my own contact, I have to believe that Native Americans, Mayans, Egyptians,
So you think
e-
like all the ancient cultures that built
every
these
country,
immaculate things.
yes, every country, even if that'd be like if I ended up building something big and massive, asking the ETs for help, then that would be what happens, what they've done. But I've only been doing contact for so long, and I haven't even had contact in almost 1 year. In December, it's been 1 year since my last contact. I even tried making contact tonight, no luck. It was like the second or third time I've tried this year with no luck. But obviously, that's my
I
own fault.
1 second, not to pause you. But
Oh,
Joshua, maybe you could I don't know if you have Twitter, but all of our links are in the description below. If you could DM me, I would like to know about that Serpent Head, the rock, because I would like to check that out while I'm there. Just because it's not been validated, I definitely want to check it out and maybe make a video about it. So, um, well, something more than a video because why I'm going to these places is a little bit well, and I can finally announce that in December. So, um, yeah. Anyway, and then Nick says Atlantis, like lost civilizations, like
yeah,
that. Yes.
he talks
Yeah.
about that too. And
Like Plato is highly renowned. I think
yeah,
it's really odd that people think that he just made that up.
I didn't know that he was the one that even talked about Atlantis, bro. I had no idea they were
Yeah.
connected at all until Graham talked about it.
Yeah, he said and a lot of people think that, I like how Graham talks about the ancient maps as well, how they have there's clearly evidence that um Antarctica used to be further north, and there was another part of the world that used to be down there. And it all shifted, but Antarctica used to be the island on the ancient maps. Not the island. I don't know if it was an island, but it used to be the landmass that you could see on some ancient maps. It had all the same features as Antarctica, like all the same ridges, but it was just in a different spot. So they think that it moved. When I say it, I sound like an idiot, but when
Yeah.
they talk about it, it's very, very, very interesting. Um,
Well,
how something like that's possible. Imagine Antarctica didn't have fucking 10 miles of ice on it. What's under there? What's under there? What if there's whole civilizations or like a whole Atlantean civilization frozen under miles and miles? People don't understand. Antarctica isn't just a little bit of ice. It's fucking unreal how much ice you'd have to go through to get to where the ground is, quote unquote ground.
let's not
So
melt it all,
what's
bro.
under there?
They're probably nervous that we melt it all. Then yeah, their civilization's gonna be exposed. I'm
Like
not.
what think about fossilization. What was fossilized in Antarctica? We have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know, but I believe that whatever the Egyptians and all these lost in ancient civilizations, the technologies that they were all using had to have been free energy, bro. They had to have been similar to what our government has now in these classified black projects and what the ETs have with free energy. And allegedly, according to Hancock, that he claims they use some. like sang or made some sounds which lifted up the
Yeah,
stones.
there could
I don't
potentially
believe
be
that, but
there could no, that's not that's
personally,
it's
obviously I don't know what happened there. With the but I don't.
I guess you did say personally, so I
Yeah,
guess
that's
yeah.
that's a speculation of how the pyramids were built. My obvious personal belief is that if it wasn't the ETs directly, then the humans, the Egyptians were doing CE5 and having strong CE5 contact to where they were closing their eyes, doing meditation, talking to the ETs telepathically, and just writing down, knowing exactly the directions and instructions. Just it's pretty easy and simple, and if their chakras or whatever are strong enough, they'll obviously be able to do it. I haven't been able to make contact recently because my chakra or third eye or whatever you want to call it, you have to be spiritually, evolved. You have to be spiritually open and whatever you call it, um, to in order to make contact. And the more you are, the stronger the contact is.
Right.
And back
Yeah,
then,
and
without fast food and all these toxic, stuff we're putting in our bodies and social media and all this stuff that is harmful for our mental health, physical health, it's probably a lot harder to make contact, and that's why people in the CE5 community claim that going vegan actually helps you make stronger contact. That's why I want to try it. That was my personal theory, and that was my own theory hypothesis when I first, really discovered CE5 or anything. I thought, man, I bet if aliens are real, they're probably sounds like they're probably vegetarian, vegan, whatever, because they're so peaceful, such pacifists that they won't harm any being. So that was just my personal guess. It might be right.
these guys know me so well. I already thought about that doing a show at Serpent Mound while I was there.
We gotta
Yes.
go Roswell too for
Yeah, I'll
the
definitely go to that
4th of July.
convention.
It's like 2 days before the fourth convention.
So it's like it basically I think it's what they did in place of that whole fucking attempt to try to run into Roswell. They ended up doing like a makeshift
No,
convention out there.
Area 51 run into Area 51. You mean Storm Area
Yeah,
51?
yeah, I don't know
They
what I
did
just
do
said.
that though. Jeremy Corbell and they all went there. Is on the news. I mean, they obviously didn't get
No,
very
I know.
far.
That's when they
That's the same
started this
people.
impromptu that
It's
like
the same people.
instead of doing like Jeremy Corbell went to that event to tell
Yeah,
people, "Hey, why don't we do a convention in the desert, like in the like near
yeah,
the base and not get the military to shoot us in the face."
yeah.
So he
And
tried to get
as
people away, kind of.
and as cool as any alien or UFO convention might be, bro, the I still don't want to go to anything more than a Greer convention or a Greer, you know, a talk, Greer, anything. Obviously, a Greer contact experience, even one night contact with Greer would be would be the best because I know that he can make the best contact as far as most people, at least that's open public about it and it's offering services to be able to do it. Yeah, it
That's
is
right.
thousands to do it with Greer. It is thousands because that's the price you paid for hanging out with someone you know, he puts the price to hang out with them. I mean, you're doing it. That's like if you want to hang out with someone in person, like that's a whole different than just putting some videos out for free or whatever. You're leaving your family to spend time with these people you don't know if they're crazy or not. So I would charge way more than he charges. But CE5 contact is free. And he says that. His movies, most all of his movies and hundreds and hundreds of videos are free. You know, the only thing that I even paid Greer for was
Was the app.
the $10 app, and you don't even have to have that. It just helps. And he even admits that you don't have to have it, it just helps. And it does help a lot, especially for beginners, which I was and still am.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very
It's
true.
it's it's real though. So if anybody deserves all the money in the fucking world, it's him. You know what I'm saying? He's doing the greatest thing ever for humanity in my belief.
I did like that he said that on that podcast that you didn't need it.
Yeah.
Uh, that made me happy when he said that. So unfortunately, I do have to be up at 3 in the morning. So That is so. That's all the time we have tonight. But we're gonna be back on tomorrow night with Greg from the paranormal podcast, the Pursuit of Paranormal podcast, and then on Saturday we're finally gonna get to do that show with that UAP girl. So and then Sunday I'm doing the podcast with Mark. So definitely got a that's why I was teeter tottering on today because I knew we had the two other shows this week as well. We didn't get to do one last week, but I did the podcast, but we didn't do like a live show like this. So we'll make sure that I'm gonna try to beat down a schedule for it and be a little bit more consistent so we can have more viewers show up because they'll know when to come. So thank you to everyone who comes live and interacts. Josh, I would definitely like to get that information from you about Serpent Mountain and the geologist. But Lil Pop Tart, where can they find you on social?
Instagram _Lil Pop Tart, Twitter where I'm verified _ Lil Pop Tart, and
You can find
but
him calling out to Kanye West to get CE5 done.
yes sir, yay Greer 24. You already know.
Yeah.
And
Um,
also, we're still expecting a pushback, I guess, with the UAP report. We still
oh
haven't got
God.
that. So that's a like
That's a fucking mess, is what it is. Just to
it's a
finish
damn
on that,
mess.
yeah, to finish on that, these people like Marco Rubio and Senator Gillibrand, who are supposedly, in favor of this. Marco Rubio, has been super progressive and outspoken about it, but they won't say a fucking word about it right now. They won't. No one will tell us why it's held up. No one will tell. We fucking
Hey,
pay it. We pay
I
for this fucking thing. I want
I
to know why we haven't got. Why it's been almost a month late.
I think I know why, bro. They were most likely given some amount of truth, obviously a lot of disinformation, and they've been given the same briefing that a lot of presidents, including Trump, have probably been given. Oh, hey, UFOs are real. Here's some evidence to prove it, but they're a threat, and we need more funding. Space Force, this, that. So that's what they're dealing
You
with
think
now, and
that's
they're
what's
trying
going
to
on
they're
behind the door?
yeah, and they're trying to debate themselves. Okay, is this actually a threat, or are they just fucking with us? And obviously, it's hard to. How are they going to prove that Tic Tac is ET or man made? How are the Congress going to prove that? They're obviously going to give the funding at the end of the day, but they have to debate that. That's a big, you know, thing for
Yeah.
a pill to
Yeah.
swallow. Basically,
Yeah.
there's life on other
Agreed.
planets, and they're
Yeah.
getting
Not
confirmation
all.
from the government themselves, getting confirmation that it's true, whether or not that's what they're being shown and the stories they're being told are accurate, are most likely not. You know,
Yeah,
but
and not every congressperson is a young, hip, fucking
yeah,
enthusiast of this topic. Some of them are really religious, and like this talk is going to shatter their beliefs.
yeah,
At least to them, they'll come around to it eventually because again, it really doesn't affect your daily life if you are a person like that. Like unless you're like
yeah.
us who are avidly into it, it doesn't necessarily affect your daily life. So it's easy to kind of forget about and put on the back burner. And I think that's what a lot of people do. And then, it'll resurface every once in a while. But
Yeah.
we can't afford that anymore. It needs to be front and center.
I think they just haven't. I think they've allowed it the amount of press and attention it gets, in that whenever they decide that it's going to be a big story and that the president needs to say this in its disclosure, yada yada, that it'll be a big deal all over the news, everything, but only whenever they're ready, and it'll be with their narrative, obviously. And Greer's new movie, The Lost Century, talking about the last 100 years of um, technology suppressions, free energy technology suppressions, and such. He's been posting clips from the presentation that's he gave recently that will be on the documentary. He's been posting clips on Instagram and Twitter of that lecture that he gave. So I'm
Yeah.
looking really forward to this documentary coming out in the next couple months.
You know what's weird? This just dawned on me.
What?
A while back, I asked you a question. And I said, what's next for the UFO world? And we talked
Mm,
about how or at least I talked about it, how I thought the next shoe to drop was going to be the crash retrieval program. And then Adam just said this. I think the UFO retrieval is a
yeah,
wildly huge step forward, potentially them dipping their toes in the water. And that sparked something in me. What if this is the fucking beginning of them? Like, what if they know they're about to be outed for the reverse
yeah,
engineering program and they're going to send Avi out there to, and then he's going to
yeah,
he's basically going to retrieve a real fucking UFO.
yeah,
And then that's going to be where, all the advancements come from the future. It won't be from the ones
exactly, bro.
they already have.
That makes
All of
more
it
sense.
swept under the rug.
That makes more sense, bro. Congress probably has figured out about the crash retrieval program,
What if they're
and
using Avi?
I think that's why I think I don't trust him, bro. He talks like, you know, the Bray guy from the UAP task force talks, where it's so limited, and he just won't speak so far. You know what I'm saying? Where he only speaks about what he knows, and that's it. Where he
Yeah,
won't
maybe.
speculate anything further on pilots contact. You know, it's not. It's like, bro, a Mui Mui is not the first fucking UFO. It's not the first alien thing in our stratosphere or anything. Like, we've had millions of UFOs in and out of space, air, water, and even
Yeah.
transterranean. So what's he talking about? Trying to claim it's the first and blah
Well,
blah blah. Like, maybe it's a big spaceship. Maybe I don't think so. I think it's a big rock. Even so, even if it was a 100% UFO saucer, it's not definitely not the fucking first.
Well, again, I think he's on the assumption that, he's going by the standard of no one's ever admitted that any UFO is real technically. Even though the Pentagon did confirm that they didn't, that the Tic Tac wasn't ours, and it most likely wasn't a foreign technology. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of conflicting. Everyone's always conflicting in this fucking thing, I think.
He's politically correct, bro, and that's the thing. I don't like people who are sometimes too politically correct, and sometimes they tread on the water so much of not wanting to say anything about ETs, or he
Yeah,
won't in
I
his
don't
case
know.
want to say about UFOs, and
Yeah.
acknowledge all the past encounters and
Well,
contact
shit, I can't
experiences.
wait. I can't wait till March
His
and
his
April.
his former professor, um what's his name, that went to Africa,
John Mack.
John Mack. He was Harvard too, right?
Yes.
And he was obviously into abductions and all kinds of contact experiences. So has he not researched him? I mean, I know that and he and I kind of compare them to myself in a way, because of them both being from the same, university, and doing the same type of almost research, but they're so completely different. As to John Mack would openly talk about abductions, contact experiences, all the above, meet with these people, and had hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands and thousands of cases. To where the difference with Avi Loeb is he has one case of this big spaceship, and now he has this other, apparently, with a crash retrieval, which
Well, he's heading the
obviously,
Galileo project. So that's where this all
yeah,
came from. Was his introduction into that. Um, so that's where I think this is their first big task is apparently this. That's the
yeah,
first Galileo
and
like public thing, and it's interesting. I'll give him that. I'll definitely give him that.
but just like you said, he could be some type of front with the crash retrievals to pull it out and be the first scientist, be like, look, we've had UFOs, and now this is how we got the technology. Look, we showed you, and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but the fact that you said that, so where my skepticism's coming from with him. Like, I don't trust or distrust him, but there's just something about me that deep down, it's hard for me to trust anyone. And until I saw UFOs with my own eyes, I didn't even trust Greer. So I understand why the rest of the world doesn't trust Greer, and why the UFO community doesn't trust Greer a lot, because the CE5 thing is the real deal breaker. If he wouldn't have gone out and talked about CE5 and just only been a ufologist, talked about nuts and bolts of UFOs and other people's contact experiences, then he would have been fine. But because he's gone out and talked about contact, he's talked about all this real stuff about the government's involvement, a fake invasion possibly, but especially CE5 contact. He's been ridiculed, made fun of, and demonized to the highest extent. Shadow banned on YouTube even. Um, and it's sad because it is real, and I don't doubt um, I don't doubt Greer whatsoever since I've had my own contact. But I understand why other people would doubt him, would doubt at least the CE5
Yeah.
because it's
I
something hard to believe until you see with your own eyes. I completely agree with that.
yeah. But unfortunately, I do have to jump off. So, like I said, we'll be back tomorrow night, probably around the same time. I'm still trying to
For
figure that
sure.
part out because the difference between the here in the UK is a little bit off. It's like 4 hours
Yeah.
ahead. So,
Yeah.
we'll see y'all tomorrow. Make sure to like, share, subscribe. Keep your eyes to the sky. And if you do ever see something and want to talk about it, my email is in the description below. We'd love to hear your experience and maybe get it on camera. So until next time, guys, we'll see ya.